Hello everyone. Now you will hear a short clip of the movie, The Darkness and the Mile. Enjoy watching. Deathroyd, 1995. In the filthy toilet of the Priyut nightclub, 23-year-old Jim Mismith, nicknamed, is trying to cope with his nerves. Rabbit. The kid had a fight with the bouncer who wouldn't let him back into the gym, but his friend and presenter Rabat Love Ucher got in for him. They went out into the alley where the rabbit is changing clothes to participate in the battle. He broke up with his girlfriend, who was probably pregnant, and gave her his car. A battle is taking place on the stage. Dad finished off the microphone and promised Tiny Mike that she'll put a hole in his head if he doesn't run off to his mom right now. He qualified for the next round. Rabbit's rival is a small tick. He has 45 seconds to tell Jimmy that a white guy shouldn't even pick up a microphone. And if he's a rabbit, then let him go to Playboy. Tolpov greeted our hero with a disgruntled shout and booing. Jimmy Rabbit handed the microphone to the card but could not utter a word. For the entire 45 seconds the crowd wore him to the beat, and the white guy just ran away in disgrace. His friends supported him, but it didn't make Jimmy feel any better. He came home to his mother in the trailer park where she was having sex with a young man named Greg. Jimmy is constantly changing jobs. Yesterday he worked in a pizzeria. Tomorrow he will be in the stamping shop. Greg is burning out of it, even though he is sitting without a job at all. Jimmy is planning a couple of weeks on living materials. They got into a fight with Greg when he insulted Rabbit's friends. The younger one ran out of the room and her brother put her back in bed. Steph does not ask her son to mess with Greg and not ruin her life while giving him her car, which is really not going to start. Now the guy is walking to the bus stop with his friend Wink. He believes in a rabbit. That's why he got involved with Jimmy Slavechka, one producer. Wing has already helped another rapper rise and continues to train young talents. Jimmy drives past decommissioned schedules and half-destroyed houses in a depressed city. Along the way, there are your own texts on the right. At the end of the work shift, the head of the Manny reprimands him for being late. She laughs at the extra shifts and threatens to fire Jimmy for another slip-up. That was the first time Rabbit saw Alice. He gave the middle finger to the boss's back, but it was the girl who saw him. While fixing the car, Jimmy gave out an impromptu text saying that his mother was sleeping with his age. And as a gift from her, he got a wreck that can't even move. Future signed Jimmy up for Battle again. The role asks if it's true that Wink has garters on the radio station, but Future thinks Wing is just a piece of shit. Jimmy has finally fixed the wreck and is now taking his friends for an evening date. Saul brought a pinball gun with him and the assholes started shooting passers-by. From the cold, Jimmy was outraged and fired a couple of shots at the police car. The company soon heard Serena. As luck would have it, the engine died again. And with the last gasp of the car, the rabbit pulled into an alley. They were lucky today. Mom decided to kill Eno. Exactly. A beautiful woman. And my son gave me a buy-in. The car came alive again, and the company drove up to the parking lot, where a group of rappers gathered. The Future is again advertising his white friend and inviting him to connect. This time, Jimmy overcame his fear and rocked the crowd. At that moment, Likiti Split and Papadoc drove up to the parking lot with the brothers. They omit Chubby Soul and Future, but their main target is Jimmy Rabbit. However, our guy did not tolerate this and lowered himself. "Lick your ass." Papadoc immediately took out the wool, and after that the gang scattered but still ended up in the same place. Oleg will hide next to their enemies. Ivink also hangs out with them. He apologizes to Jimmy. He said he didn't know what was wrong, but there was nothing he could do. He's already agreed to help them with some kind of show. After seeing his ex Jonan, the rabbit went outside to get some fresh air. Alice came up to meet him. He asks if he's so obsessed with turnips. Why is he wasting his time at the factory? She decided to hang out with Jimmy and his friends, as did a few of the ladies you picked up at the club. The guys invite Olegsa to watch their white friend perform at the orphanage during the battle. Future says that now the rabbit will not turn away from the performance. The company is hanging out at Uvink's hut. He promised the rabbit to help record the demo disc. Easy spends the whole day splurging about abandoned houses where the raiders might be hiding. The weirdos couldn't think of anything better than burning one of them. Moreover, Chedor set fire to the house when they themselves were still inside. Jimmy even had to spread out on the second floor. Alice has heard how Rabbit reads electronic warfare and believes that he will definitely succeed. Steffa did not receive a notification in the reinforcement. We urgently need to cover the debt for 3 months. Steph doesn't work, and neither does her Greek boyfriend. They both play Bing for a while, and the Greek has been waiting for a compensation payment for being hit by a car for some time. Manny's boss glares at Jimmy. The guy can't make any more mistakes. Then I came to work with him to find out his attitude, Janine. She kind of lied about being pregnant. And when you left, you laughed at his performance at the orphanage. What's the estimate again? I'm sorry, Manny. I had nothing to do with it. Don't do it again. Your dressage is not needed here. The rabbit was driving a friend, but in his own cars. But then he braked abruptly when he saw Dad with his friends. He punched one of them, and a fight ensued. While everyone was fighting, 4 of them were hit by a pistol, which took off the first one and shot into the air. His friends tried to persuade him to lower the gun. The asshole put the gun back in his pants and shot my leg. There was an artery for the grandfather, but the shooter managed to be taken to the hospital. The future in which he calls Wink a piece of trash and demands to keep him out of their team. Tired, Jimmy returned to the trailer. Mom found an interesting topic of conversation there. We have a grog problem. Did you find out that we're moving out? No. The face goes assex. That's it, Mom, I don't want to listen. The thing is, he refuses. Mom, I asked you to. Kissing me there. Mom! A crowd of people gathered at the New Hounds dinner and 2 rappers sang poetry at the beginning of the Frist. Local catwalk. Mike shot a fat man, a lady, and a dude who was strangely dressed. Jimmy listened to him attentively and then came out of the crowd and joined the battle with him. Mike, according to him, is a latent gay, penniless Ford who he can only afford 1 sandwich. And we also braided our pigtails too tightly. He got Mike all cleaned up. His triumph was watching Alexa. She liked it so much that she ran after the rabbit to the factory and immediately gave herself to him. Friends talk about what to spend money on when they become famous and rich. Jimmy got angry and called them babblers who sit on their asses and do nothing for their success. When Jimmy returned home, he was surprised to see Alex and Wink next to his mother. The latter promised that no one would find out where the rabbit lives. He was framed like that. But Jimmy will probably rap in front of the studio microphone tomorrow. Wing also helps Alexa with her portfolio, who dreams of moving to New York and becoming a model. Jimmy needs to work hard on the lyrics so as not to lose face in front of the producer. In the morning, the Greek faced a scandal after learning that Steph was not being evicted from the trailer. He pushed the woman and said he was leaving. He doesn't need a homeless woman, even with 2 extras. Jimmy freaked out and finally wholeheartedly shot the asshole in the head. Lily was scared, and now he's trying to calm her down. Jimmy went to Wing, and there he found out that the Future had signed him up for the next tournament. Rabbit started protesting and Future got fucked up. Find his white friend. He hoped that Jimmy would punish Pudok on stage, who would defend his title. Wing arranged for Alexa to take a photo. However, she's with Badoon today. Jimmy gave a ride to a friend. For some reason, she refused to let him come up with her. At home, a drunken mother was waiting for the rabbit. The Greek received compensation today and immediately quit Steph is not, but she blames her son for what happened, and she drives his trailer away. Jimmy arrived at the radio station in the evening. Looking at what was going on in different offices, he saw how Wing punches him to Alex. He attacked Mudok and beat him up. He didn't say a word to Alexa and just left. The rabbit stopped at Jonin's house, but after a moment's thought, he drove away. Wing snitched on the nascent group where he lives, Rabbit. They came to Craper and started beating him in front of his little sister. Wing took a bite too. Popadoc pulled out a gun and started pointing at one of them in the face, Jimmy. Later, Stephanie approached the trailer, and she invited her beaten son to dinner. But they didn't fight today. The woman lays out the groceries and informs the rabbit that they are not being evicted. She went to bingo and won $3,200. Probably this is the beginning of a white stripe life. You say Wing promised you a trial recording? No, but I'll go without him. At work, Jimmy looks at the hour he waits for the end of his shift, but then his boss called him over, who appreciated that the guy had started working hard and offered him an extra shift today. Alice came to the factory. She's here to say goodbye. The girl is worried about going to New York. Would you like to buy something from us? Yes. Rental studios. Alice concludes that Raskolnik stays on the second shift and does not go to the shelter. So he was just scared. But Jimmy changed his mind and asked another hard worker to work for him for a couple of hours. The rapper came to the club. Even his friends didn't expect to see him here. Inside, he warms up and at the same time makes Cheddar laugh. Zadie came up with his gang. They made fun of their friends. Jimmy apologizes to the future. But he doesn't need an apology. The main thing is that the rabbit breaks these shits today. Like Tiplet and Rabbit should be the first to enter the stage, but the rabbit is not visible about them. He gathers his thoughts in the bathroom. The fastest one came running after him. Cheddar on castles. A white rapper pushes his way through a crowd of non-friends. The first one got to read the Like Tiplight. Jimmy started telling him that he was a farm boy, a Nazi, and just a weakling. He should be hanging out with Vanilla Ice, not them. And the rabbits called him because he has a carrot in his ass. As time passed, Future took away the microphone and gave it to a friend. The crowd whooped again. For example, the video called Liketisplita, a girl among men. I made fun of his cash registers, they look like sausages. And compared to a turtle if he is a rabbit. And at the end he showed his ass. The audience was satisfied. Even the bouncer checked out the rabbit's performance. His next opponent is Lotto, who, as always, stayed in the fry to show his muscles. And he immediately began to develop the Russian theme. Now the rabbit needs to respond to his formidable opponent. Jimmy makes fun of Bingo for constantly yelling and asking the audience to bring him more steroids. And he's also repeating the very mess behind the Like Tiplight. Why doesn't he write his own text? Well, it all ended, of course, with a laugh at Lotto's mom. It's voting time, and the audience supports both rappers in about the same way. However, a repeat vote brought the rabbits to the finals. In order to somehow fuck Jimmy up, Like Tiplet yells that the screw slept with his chick. But my friends are encouraging me, and they say that this daddy is a loser and his vocabulary is poor. It's time for the final match for the title of champion. This time, the rabbit will be the first to perform. New rules. The benchmark is given half a minute. After rocking the gym first, Jimmy started. He predicts everything Dad can start about, that he's white and lives in a trailer, that they had recently given him a hard time, and the screw had slept with his girlfriend. But he's a street dog, and Daddy went to a private school. His name is Clarence, and he lives with his mom and dad. Already entrenched without beta, he admitted that he was a white trash, and he's proud of it. The performance was so powerful that Papa Doc swallowed the tongue, did not utter a word. Kim became the new champion. The gang is going to celebrate. However, it's time for Jimmy to get back to work. Future offered to work with him, but his friend refused. He had to find his way, and Jimmy wandered off towards the factory.